Okay, thank you. I was really interested, Daniel, but this really sort of touches a lot of what you were talking about. We were talking, so we're sort of going in this thing about social systems and how important they are in construction specifically. So, and this is part of some work that has been taken. We're very fortunate to be 18 months or so into a 2-year immersive, full-time embedded experience in a company that's going through cultural and whatever changes towards you. And we're working with them. And we're working with them on that. So this is just some little insights from their preliminary ones. So just a quick recap. How many times in the last 2 days have you heard or seen the word understanding? It's in almost every presentation. And if you listen to things that go on when you're out and about at work and everywhere, you hear a lot about we need to understand, we need to know, we need to think. Okay, so it's sort of there in everything we do. And these are very human attributes, right? Thinking, understanding, knowing, it's about being human. But we take these for granted. You know, we make so many assumptions that everybody has the same understanding that we do. We just don't even think about it, we just assume that they understand it. Why is this important? For us in construction, certainly, construction is about human endeavour. I heard all through my life that construction is a people industry. It's all about people. So it's about people coming together to deliver the product, and it's about people benefiting from the product. So it's certainly all about people. And the endeavour is the design and problem solving, and you know that these problems are very wicked, they're tricky, and all that. And the benefit is what we would call the conditions of satisfaction or the value. So these things are really tough in with the human endeavour. Okay, so a little bit about the research background itself. Previously, I've argued that this idea of economy shared understanding is so important that it should be considered as a flow against the background of all the other project flows. So it needs to have really special attention. I think that to pay attention to understanding is more than just having standards and specifications. You can put those on the table and everybody can have a different understanding about the same standard or specification. And it's more than just articulating, however clearly or ambiguously, it's more than just articulating purpose and goals. Similarly to your presentation, there are certain elements around understanding. You can understand that there are structural elements to it, there are relational elements to it, and there's cognitive and learning elements to it. So you're talking about training and things like that. Can we see what it looks like? Yeah, this was the question that we've been grappling with, or one of the questions we've been grappling with. And I think we have some idea of what it might look like. So Paul's now going to just tell you about what he's been doing in the company.
So this is a little bit about the method. So our method, we've basically designed and developed an 8-flow walk. So this is brand new to the world. So the 8-flow walk, we take the 8 flows, information, materials, equipment, prior work, space, and the last one is shared understanding and shortening them down. So we took the 8 flows and we asked a number of individual participants to what stops the flow of project delivery in the organisation related to each flow. And from that, we had a number of mini workshops and a bigger workshop where we compiled all the stuff together. We went through a number of rounds with the flow walk, and we came down to this table now. This is what brought us to this table. So from the flow walk, we had 142 constraints. So they identified constraints in relation to each flow. And from that, then we narrowed them down to 22 constraints because we're all in different categories. And when we go into the table, then when we go into the table, we have 22 categories of constraints, and we got people to prioritize. That's the wrong one. Prioritize the constraints as a level of LOI, as a level of impact. and we got them to vote with red dots to which one was the biggest impact on project delivery. And that brought us down to 22 constraints. So if we look at the top 2 constraints, the first one was scope. So scope was a big issue for delivering projects. But they identified this in 3 flows. One was information, one was external conditions and materials. But what they didn't identify this was in the flow of understanding. But the post-its they had written their things on had ambiguous scope and unclear scope, which has 2 words which is clearly related to understanding. This is not working out for me, is it? The next one, which was level on votes, was the sign-off process, which was signatures and authorizations. So that was related to 3 flows, and it wasn't related to the flow of understanding. But when I unpacked all of the post-its, there was one there about unnecessary PRs, which is purchase requisitions. So if something's unnecessary, there's obviously not an understanding between the person who wants the PR and the person who needs it, of what's expected. It's unnecessary, it's not needed. And then the other ones which were related to understanding, I just said there. And then this is the model. So this is informed the model, which does look complex, because it probably is. But in the middle here we have the shared understanding. That doesn't work. So in the middle we have, in purple, we have shared understanding. The purple arrows is showing how understanding is pulled from each of the different flows. And then if you look back, so if you look at the one for space, for example, and space has a number of subflows, and under the subflow of mental is office distractions and multitasking things, so overburdened, and the impact of office distractions. So you need a shared understanding of those. And then up top here then is a number of other kind of attributes to shared understanding, which is stuff that inhibits shared understanding, stuff supporting shared understanding, and then consequences of shared understanding. Here you go, Christine.
Okay, so what did we learn? Or what have we learned so far? Because we're not finished by a long talk with this yet. Certainly that if there's no understanding or common understanding, then we do get quite catastrophic breakdown. Okay, it's not insignificant, you know. If you don't really understand it, that's a severe problem. Okay, so the relationships break down, processes can break down, and worst of all, is satisfaction is not achieved. And I mean, that's what learning is all about, is delivering that satisfaction, isn't it? So you fail in the biggest way. We also learned that the idea of needing understanding isn't really recognised. And that came out that people didn't think that understanding was important. And yet they knew that things were ambiguous, they knew that there was some miscommunication, and so that it was there in everything, but it wasn't explicitly understood. That understanding does influence everything, and that it certainly needs to be specifically established. So there needs to be some systematic process of ensuring people understand each other, and that was one of the things we used the flow walks for. So this idea of understanding is, as we heard, it's like the social code. It's the code that enables the human system. If you don't have that understanding shared, then your human system isn't going to work. So we were really pleased with the way the flow walks worked. Okay, that was really good, and it was used in many contexts. One of the ones we used it as part of the Make Ready process in the last planning system. So it just fitted really well there as part of learning to make work ready. Do you understand where are the constraints and the processes across all the flows? So it worked really well as a tool there. And I'm thinking now, you know, this idea of flow walks and shared understanding, well, we're actually starting maybe to see a new way to manage risk, and even moving risk management into change management. And I've heard several things around, you know, what we're really talking about is changeability, dealing with variability. So it's really not risk management, it's really change management is what we need. We need to be able to enable that, which is the pound to the edge, isn't it? It's actually having that ability to change right there with the people who need to make those decisions. So why the title? I guess I thought that it is like a code, and I'm not an IT person, but we've sort of an IT bit to this conference, yeah. And being with all the IT stuff, you need to have really clear codes, you need to have interoperability, and if you don't have any of that, none of your software works, and so on and so on. And I think understanding is the human equivalent of that. So it's the machine code of the social in our socio-technical system. So, thank you very much.
Questions for